As we prepare for our offering, I'm going to invite Wally Wilson up to share with us one more story of faith and generosity. We've had several members sharing these stories throughout the weeks. Wally, of course, chaired our previous capital campaign that Pastor Kathy also helped us with, The Spirit Moves Us, and he's going to share a bit of a story and words of encouragement for us today.
Well, good morning, friends and fellow travelers through this thing we call life. Let me share a little history with you. In early 2017, it became apparent to the church council that for a variety of reasons, Spirit in the Hills would soon have to move out of the rented facilities at Bee Creek Road and RO Drive to a more permanent location. Shortly thereafter, we began to look for suitable sites, and the few that met our requirements were very quickly sold. It soon became very evident that in order to move quickly and make an offer when attractive parcels came to market, we'd need to have adequate funds on hand. It was simply impractical to raise funds for an offer after a tract was identified. So in early 2017, the congregation approved a capital campaign to raise funds to be held to acquire property. A working committee was formed to lead a capital campaign in July of 2017, and the Spirit Moves Us Commitment Sunday was scheduled for October 15th, 2017. The campaign goal of $300,000 was easily surpassed when a total in excess of $400,000 was pledged that Sunday, and those funds were set aside to be used to acquire property. In the spring of 2019, a 5-acre tract with 2 structures came on the market, this property right here. An offer was made and accepted, and we closed on the transaction on August the 6th of 2019. The purchase price of $690,000 was funded by the $400,000 from the capital campaign and a loan of $800,000 from the ELCA Mission Investment Fund. Approximately $500,000 remained on hand to fund any needed improvements to the property. Although these buildings were relatively new, some structural modifications were required to create a worshipful atmosphere. So about $327,000 was spent on the interior and some exterior expansion work. The remaining cash on hand of about $200,000 was a start, but it soon became apparent that additional funds would be required to complete the necessary interior modifications, parking, road, drainage work. These problems were exacerbated by the dramatic increase in the cost of construction materials during the 2-year period while we were awaiting approval of the required permits from Travis County during the COVID pandemic. And that brings us up to the current time. Our Seeds of Growth campaign total of $350,000 includes about $125,000 to be reserved for additional site work, signage, routine maintenance, overruns, and other unforeseen issues, of which there are always some. With the $200,000 remaining from funds raised to purchase the property and complete the necessary interior improvements, we still need about $225,000 to fund site work, drainage, road, and parking areas. Phase 1 will complete that work up to the sanctuary and will cost a total of $285,000. Phase 2 will carry the site, road, and additional parking work behind the church, behind us here, pardon me, and will cost an additional $150,000. Contracts for Phase 1 have already been signed and work is committed, as we can plainly see. We paid the contractors about $138,000 and have about $85,000 cash on hand. That leaves approximately $62,000 that will be due very shortly, for which we do not currently have funds. So in summary, the use of funds for this capital campaign will be as follows. Completion of Phase 1, about $62,000. Phase 2, $150,000. Reserve for future work and overruns, $125,000, for a total of about $337,000, rounded up to $350,000. So it's imperative that we have available funds on hand to make these payments as they become due. If we're unable to raise sufficient funds to pay for Phase 1, pardon me, work already completed and have to delay the work included in phase 2, it'll be very difficult to resume that work in a timely manner, and costs will surely go up when work resumes. Men and equipment will have moved on to other jobs, and it'll be impossible to forecast when we could expect them to return to Spirit in the Hills. All contracts for the unfinished work would have to be renegotiated as well. So consequently, I want to encourage you, as you consider the amount and the timing of your pledge today, to give some prayerful thought to making your contribution payable now, rather than spreading it out over 2 or 3 years. For many of us who are retired and living on fixed incomes, our contributions will come out of funds in investment accounts, IRAs, etc., rather than current income. For those of us in this position, the contribution will come out of the same accounts, regardless of whether the contribution is made this year or next year. So why not make the contribution this year? Most importantly, it will help the church greatly to have those funds in hand now. The sooner our seeds of hope are in the ground, the sooner they'll take root and grow. So we're writing a check and attaching it to our pledge card today for the capital campaign. And I hope you'll join me and do the same thing. Thank you.